We have years and years and decades, centuries of experience with fire. And one of the problems we have in general as humans is that we tend to think that because we experience something, we understand it. And that's not really true.
With fire, almost everything is counterintuitive. What appears to be intuitive is actually wrong. So my name is Mark Finney, and I'm a research forester here with the Missoula Fire Sciences Lab. The Fire Sciences Lab was built in 1960 for the purposes of understanding fire. You know, the figures for the federal government right now, we spend upwards of $3 billion a year dealing with wildland fire. We burn on average about 4 million acres a year. And it seems like the amount of area and the impact of these fires just keeps going up. We are not getting rid of fire. And so we need now to understand a lot more about it. You know, the goal of our research is to reverse engineer spreading fires. Okay, we're in the wind tunnel, and what we're going to see here is an experimental fire in a cardboard fuel bed, engineered from cardboard, cut with a laser cutter to be very, very uniform. We have a lot of cameras. We have cameras posted all over the place. We have 2 high-speed cameras, one right there and one on the inside. We need to do this experiment in order to understand flame structure and spreading fires and the highly variable flame contacts and heating that goes along with these structures. This is a big event. Anybody who happens to be in the building gets to show up and watch. So, all right, you're ready, Kyle. And Ian is ready. Yep. All right, go ahead. We have ignition. We don't understand the physics of how fire is able to go from where it's burning now to where it is yet to burn. Because flames are hot, they want to rise. Well, rising goes vertical. How is it that we get a horizontal force there to allow the fire to spread? How is the heat transferred? How fast is it going to spread? Whether it will spread or not? Those are the main questions. Here we go.
Oh, cool.
That was a good one. Even 10 years ago, we couldn't do the kinds of analyses that we're doing now. The digital video is amazing in what it allows us to see. Oh wow, look at that. So what we're seeing there is 2 peaks, a peak and a trough. They're on the back side of it. We're looking at the fire coming at us. But when you get a big trough opened up, and you get these 2 peaks, this is caused by these counter-rotating vortices. You can almost see the rotation here, right? And there's a vortex here pushing the flame up, vortex here pushing the flame up. And of course they're pushing the flames down and forward. And you can see this bursting that takes place now and then. We can see exactly the same features that we've identified in our laboratory fires in video of field scale fires. Look at the peak and trough pattern of the flames as they're sticking above the fuels. That's very similar to the peak and trough pattern that we see from our laboratory burns. A very clear pattern to it, organizations that have not been identified before or recognized, and that's a big step. This is the key to how fire spreads. Okay, here we go. Yeah. Another thing we do in here is we study pool fires. The kind of flame dynamics and flame behaviors that we see in these pool fires and their puffing, that's related to buoyancy. That's related to the low density of the flames that are produced compared to the regular atmosphere around us. And so the remarkable thing about that puffing behavior is that it scales So from tiny little burners, much smaller than what you're seeing here, all the way up to those that are 100 meters or hundreds of meters in diameter. The bigger the flames, the slower the pulsing. So our wildland fires contain similar kinds of flow and buoyant instabilities as you're seeing here. So it is very exciting to finally have found how these processes are organized. That's a long search has finally borne some fruit here.
When somebody asks me what I do, I basically tell them that I light things on fire all day. And it's true. What I do with this experiment is I convectively heat fuel particles and look at how they heat up and how they ignite. One thing that we really don't understand is how live fuels, the live living green stuff that's up in the tree canopies, can ignite and burn with such high moisture contents. I mean, they're mostly water, and yet they are responsible for some of our largest and most unpredictable wildland fires. Those are crown fires, and those burn through tree canopies. So live fuels are live, right? So they're growing and changing and storing sugars and fats and proteins in the leaves and needles themselves. So when it heats up and that water gets exploded out of those cells, it may be taking sugars and starches with them, which are flammable, which may be one of the reasons why live fuels can ignite and burn with such high moisture contents. But we honestly, that's just a speculation right now.
If we don't understand how fire works at this laboratory scale, then we don't understand enough to make reliable assumptions for a model that will work at the wildland scale. So the crown fires, whether it's in Southern California chaparral or in trees, that just scares the living hell out of our society. And so what this is really about goes well beyond an academic sense of solving the problem of how fire spreads. Yeah, okay, so we get a kick out of that. That's personal. But what's institutional and social is that we can begin to cope with wildfire as something that is just a natural disturbance. And it doesn't have to be a human disaster.
We're not getting rid of fire by trying to suppress it. By removing fire today under moderate conditions, what we're doing is delaying this inevitable fire for much more extreme conditions that are beyond our control. So in fact, the great irony here, it's been called the fire paradox, is the harder we try to remove fire, the worse we make it. So many contradictions here, and maybe that's why fire remains such a mysterious phenomenon.